mic on? Is this mic on? First and foremost, thank you all for being here. It is truly an honor and a blessing to stand before you tonight. I know you had many things that you could be doing. One of the things that you elected to do was to come here, and I hope that you will learn more about me. My name is Vernon J. Fields. I want you to stop back at my big red sign back there. I'm letting folks know. Yeah, I'm a Republican, so all of my stuff is in red. I want to make sure we're real clear with that. I'm running on the campaign of Kansas. Kansas is the acronym, keeping all neighborhoods safe and secure. That's my background. My background is I'm a federal retired law enforcement officer. I have a doctorate in criminal justice. I have a master's degree in nursing. All of these areas are tied in specifically with helping to ensure that when I go to Washington, I can talk about things from a practical experience. I've been to the border. I've had to go to the border. My last assignment in the Department of Justice was in Los Angeles, where my housing unit was right next to an immigration detention center. So I've been there, done that, and hope to continue to do that for you and everybody else. Again, I want you to stop back and visit with my wife. She's got my cards. And take a look at my website. You'll find 13 different points on my website. And those 13 different points are things that I have committed to so people can say, hey, has he changed his tune? Is this what he's saying he's going to do? Yes, they're there for you to read. And since I kind of go in the education field, I'm going to tell you how those things are laid out. You'll find that each of those position statements starts with an SEES format. So it's going to be whatever the statement is or the situation is, followed by an explanation from me, followed by an example from me, followed by a support on where I stand in that position. So if you want to know more about me, go to vernonjfields.com, and thank you so much for being here. Steve and I were comparing our dress. Don't we look like twins?
That's the nicest thing you've ever said about me. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I'm Steve Fitzgerald. Brief introduction. I'm a retired Army officer. I joined the Army as a private, worked my way through the infantry and special forces, retired as a lieutenant colonel. Spent about 11 years with my own small business, 6 years in the Kansas Senate. Been very active in Republican politics. My wife and I were precinct committee people, and also were district and state delegates. I was elected as treasurer of the Kansas Republican Party at a difficult time and got us through that. I helped to found the Republican Men's Leadership Series. We're in our 8th year of training Republican men in politics. We've got over 220 men that we've trained in conservative republicanism. In other words, I've been working hard for a long time to try and make the party more active, more effective, more conservative. I enjoy doing that. I think it's extremely important that people like yourselves are active in self-government. It's hard, it's difficult, it's messy. In some cases, it's very entertaining. But the alternative to self-government, where we work on our government, is not acceptable. We have to be self-governing people. And I appreciate the fact that you all are getting involved, either as candidates, as support, as help, as concerned citizens, and being out there to make sure that we pick the right people to be in these positions. We have some great choices of real proven Republicans, people who have been in the party, people who have done things that prove they're Republican. Do not choose somebody without a background. Do not accept a check. You cannot, excuse me, you cannot verify the identity of the person writing that political check. The most important thing that's going to happen when the congressperson from this district gets to Washington is voting for leadership in the House, because that's going to determine what's going to happen for the next 2 years. I would vote for somebody like Jim Jordan. I would vote for somebody like Louis Gohmert. I would vote for the most conservative, capable person in the House to lead the House going in the right direction. I'm very conservative, very pro-life, very pro-gun. I've got a record to believe that you can see. You can Google it. It's right there with specifics. I'm under attack many times from the left because of that. That's great. If you're catching flack, you're over the target. If you're not over the target, why are you out there? So you have a lot of good choices in this race and in other races. The Republican Party always puts up a good group of candidates for you to choose from. Pick carefully. And like I said, don't cash a check from somebody you can't verify what their background is or what they can do. And don't cash a check from somebody who can't work together with everybody else in order to get things done. I believe I've got the record to prove I can do that. And I think I'm pretty much out of time. So with that, I suppose I'm supposed to introduce the representative for Kevin Jones, a good man and representative in the Kansas House. Thank you.
Hello, good evening, guys. My name is Mark McAllister, and like Steve just said, I'm the representative of Kevin Jones this evening. I must admit it's a little difficult to follow those two individuals. Their service, thanks for being here this evening. I want to ask a question. Why are we all here this evening? I know for me, I'm here in support of Kevin Jones. But for you guys, it's more than likely you either want to hear more about a candidate or you're here in support of a candidate. So I want to extend that question to the individuals sitting behind me and myself included. Why are we running for Congress, or in my case, why is Kevin running for Congress? And the reason Kevin's in the race is because he sees a lack of servant leadership in Washington, D.C. And he finds himself a servant leader. He wishes to be a servant leader. That's the reason he's running for the race. A little bit about Kevin Jones. Kevin Jones is someone who's grown up in Wellsville, attended Wellsville High School. He lives there now with his family and his wife, Nicole. He has a master's degree in organizational leadership. He was a medic, Green Beret medic, Army Ranger. He spent some time doing that as well. So a little bit about him personally. What he stands for is a conservative platform out of pro-Second Amendment, pro-life, and certainly pro-jobs in the state of Kansas. And again, something similar to what Steve said, his voting record identifies with that and is parallel to that. So it goes back to what I asked. Why are we in this race? Why are we here? Servant leadership and a lack of that. I'll conclude with this. I believe personally that when making any decision politically, you have to go back to your values first, and second, you have to take it to the Lord. And I know I've taken it to the Lord, and I wholeheartedly support Kevin for that reason, and I'd extend that to you, and I strongly encourage you to find where Jesus would have you to vote, because that's what I've done. That's what I'd appreciate. So thank you for all coming out this evening and supporting our county politics here in the state of Kansas. Thank you for supporting our candidates here. And please, if you find yourself in that position, please support Kevin Jones. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming out here tonight. My name is Brian Brooks. I'll be speaking in support of Dennis Pyle. He wanted to be here. He had an event up north tonight. Unfortunately, he's been campaigning a long time, but he still hasn't figured out how to be in two places at once. So that is incredibly annoying sometimes. So just a little bit about Dennis. He is a fourth-generation Kansas farmer. He lives up north in Hiawatha. He has 6 daughters, and as of 2 weeks ago, 4 grandchildren, one grandson and 3 granddaughters. So he got into politics about 16 years ago when he looked at the state of Northeast Kansas, the direction that Kansas was going in, and he was worried. At the time, Northeast Kansas was entirely controlled by Democrats. All 3 state house seats and the Senate seat up there were Democratic. And so he decided to get involved. He and a few other people fought hard to make Northeast Kansas a Republican stronghold, and now all 4 of those seats are held by conservative Republicans. So Dennis has been in the legislature for the last 16 years, and in that time, he has stood against every single tax increase that's come in front of him. He's the only one running who can say that. He has a 100% pro-life voting record. He has a lifetime A rating with the NRA. He's a consistent, proven conservative. When you decide who to vote for, look back at everybody's votes. Look back at everybody's voting record in Congress and ask yourself, who has proven themselves to stand up for what they believe in? Dennis Pyle's rhetoric matches his record. That's how you know that when he goes to Washington and meets those lobbyists and gets pressure from Republican leadership to cave on those issues, he's not going to, because he has a consistent record in Topeka of standing up to, standing for those conservative principles. He likes to say in speeches that when he gets to Washington, he will not work for leadership, but he will work with them. when leadership is acting conservatively, but he will not work for them. So when he gets to Washington, he wants to continue the same policies that he's fought for in Topeka. He wants to help protect the unborn. He wants to stand up for our Second Amendment rights. He wants to fight for limited government. He wants to continue decreasing taxes and decreasing government spending and waste so that we can get the economy going. And he wants to build a wall. Like I said, he's a farmer from up north. He literally built his own house. He's dug a lot of fence posts. He's mended a lot of fences. He knows how to build a wall. And so when you go to the ballot box on August 7th, coming up, just keep in mind, who has proven themselves to be a conservative? Whose rhetoric matches their record? And you'll find that that's Dennis Pyle. Thanks.
Well, good evening. It's good to see you guys here. I've got to say this is one of the first candidate forums I've been to that I think there's more members in the body than candidates. Because usually there's a ton of candidates or candidate supporters. So I'm glad you guys are here. I'm Karen Tyson, candidate for 2nd Congressional District. My husband and I own and operate Tyson Ranch just east of here in Lynn County, 5th generation Kansan, software developer, engineer. I have a master's degree from KU, and for you K-State fans, I've got my mathematics degree and computer science degree. So I balance it out very well. I had the opportunity in my computer science career to work at NASA, and that was my introduction to government waste. That's what sparked my interest in running for office. And I am a person that gets things done. I don't just complain about it. So when I was elected to office, one of the first things I did was I found some government waste. A hotel, federal employees, state employees staying at the same hotel the same night. Federal employee was paying less. That one change as a freshman in the House saves the state almost $1 million a year. Besides that, I went out and got my colleagues to join with me in sponsoring a bill to repeal in-state tuition for illegal immigrants. I got that bill passed the House. It was a team effort. Our former whip is sitting over there, and he knows it was a big team effort, Willie Prescott. But we got it past the House, the Senate killed it. I get things done. I don't just talk about it. I don't just complain about it. I get things done. And yes, please look at our voting records. I am #1 in the Senate for the Freedom Index, and the #1 freedom fighter in the Kansas Senate. So please look at our voting records. It's not rhetoric for me, it's passion. I believe in this. I believe that we can have together a smaller, smarter government. Limited freedom, limited government, excuse me, sorry about that. Not limited freedom. Limited government, individual freedom, traditional values, and economic development. That is my platform. When I ran for the House for the first term, I was, as one of my opponents says, he term limited himself out. Well, I chose not to run for the House again. I ran for the Senate, was elected to the Senate. I'm on my 2nd term in the Senate. I was elected with 73% of the vote. That's because I communicate with my constituents. I let them know on key votes how I voted and why I voted that way. And if elected to Congress, I will communicate that way with you too. That's one of the most important things, is to communicate with our constituents, and I take that very seriously. And I ask for your support on August 7th. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Steve Watkins, and I'm running for Congress. I'm the political outsider. I've never run for office before, never held office before. And so I tell you, if you're completely satisfied with the state legislature, if you like the direction of the Republican movement, then you're in luck. You've got a lot to choose from. But if you think we can do better, if you know that we must do better, then you're not alone. If inside you is this passion, this belief that we have to do better for future generations, and ladies and gentlemen, you are not alone. You see, we knock on over 1,000 doors a day. not to persuade people, but to listen. To listen. And what we've heard is awesome. People want an outsider to drain the swamp. People believe that they still believe that Donald Trump message of draining the swamp and doing so with somebody who's new with a fresh perspective in politics. And so when you do have an outsider, boy, from a mile away you can see those rhino arrows coming. You're going to hear him saying, oh, he doesn't have a legislative record. Oh, we can't trust him. Okay? You know, you're going to hear that from the left and the right. Why are you hearing it from the left? Think about that. Why is the left going after me? A little nobody from Topeka? Because their polling data supports that I have the best chance to beat Paul Davis. That's why. Think it through. Now, why is the right joining them? Those are some strange bedfellows, wouldn't you agree? Because I think that they understand I'm doing quite well in this race, not because of me. I'm just a guy whose name's on the ticket. But I represent a movement to usher in a new generation of conservatives. Think about who's going to be sitting in your seats in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. Who's going to be sitting there? I tell you what, the dozens and dozens and dozens of volunteers are concerned about that too, and that's why they're flocking to my campaign, because they believe we can do better, we must do better, and we will do better. By an outsider dedicated to draining the swamp. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for caring. God bless you, God bless me.
Do we have any questions for this group?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
We do have, we'll start with Steve Watkins.
Bring them on up so I can read them out. I'll do it. Well, they're all for Steve here.
Think about that. I wonder why that is. Testing.
I'm going to start with this one here. Why did you choose to begin your political experience at the federal level and not at the state level? And what is your record? Now, before I start the time, you have a total of 2 minutes to answer all of these.
Answer all of those.
But since we don't have any more questions for anybody else,
Steve
We do
Watkins.
have another question. We do have another question. We do have another.
you have some for this group?
Yes.
Okay. How many more?
You want them all right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll just go ahead and do this first one.
Do I have 2 minutes per question or 2 minutes for all? We're gonna go with it.
We're going to go with, as quickly as you can answer that one, we'll give you another one.
Okay, testing.
We'll try to do it in a couple of minutes. You'll do that.
Is this on? I'm sorry, is this working okay? Okay. I'll go as quickly as I can with these. And I'll tell you right now, if for whatever reason we can't get to the question that you asked, we'll stay afterwards. We'll be right over there. You can come right over and ask me. Okay, so this first question deals with why did I start at the federal level and not another echelon? I'll tell you what, there are tons of people who can I get some notes? There are a lot of people who can, there's a lot of people who can run at the municipal and state level much better than me. Okay, I haven't lived in the United States for most of my career. I've spent 12 years managing operations in conflict environments, mainly in Iraq and Afghanistan. 8 of those years, my boots were in the sand. Okay? So when I think about the machinations of governance at the state level, oh heck, this room is full of people who can do a lot better than me. But I tell you what, there's not very many people running for Congress who debate and legislate on international affairs. I've been out there. Okay? When people talk about, gosh, what we're going to do in North Korea, I've been there. When people talk about radical Islamic terror, North Korea, quantitative easing, that's the frame in which I've worked. So, thank you. Can we have another one?
Yeah. There's another part in that question.
What's the other part to it? I'm sorry. Okay, I got like a lot of these questions.
What's your record?
My record. I would ask anybody who questions whether or not I'm a Republican. Don't take my word for it. Tell you what I'll do. You can reach out to any number of my friends dating back 25 years. 25 years. What you're going to learn from them is I was far right of center all growing up. Now, as a junior officer, I was focused on just that. We didn't involve ourselves in political thought discussion. Same way as a paramilitary leader in the battlefield. That extended all throughout. So, my politics is far right of center. I understand that I don't have a legislative record on which to stand, but I have countless friends and classmates who I've debated, classmates who are far, far smarter than Paul Davis. And I've debated some of the best intellectual minds in the country. Is she saying to stop? Okay, thank you. Again, if you have any other questions, please, I'll be right over there.
This question, can you hear me? Hello? This question is to all the second district candidates. Will you support President Donald Trump's agenda 100%? You know, give you 2 minutes. They can just answer yes or no to this one.
Yes, a wholehearted yes.
What I've seen so far, I believe that we should support President Trump. However, I said in my announcement when I announced for this over a year ago, and I've been saying it ever since, I completely support the rapid realization of the president's agenda that he gave to the American people in order to get elected. That agenda is primarily American security and restoration of American prosperity. I support that 100% enthusiastically. Whatever all else may come, I'm going to have to look at that on a case-by-case basis. So far, I can find nothing that the president has proposed that I would not support. But I'm not going to say ahead of time that you elect me and I will support whatever this president comes up with. That's not the way our government is supposed to work. If he comes up with something that I do not think is appropriate, I will work to help make it better. Congress is supposed to be a good partner on behalf of the American people and with the president. If he's going in the right direction, I'm going to be a good partner in helping to get it done. If we think it's not, I'm going to be a good partner in helping to improve it. So that's my answer, and I hope you understand. Thank you.
I think you're going to hear everyone say essentially yes. Well, let's explain why. I listened to the president a couple of days ago, and this is the thing. He is following those 4 basic principles that got him elected. Limiting government, making sure that our taxes don't go up. I'm 100% for that. Well, what am I not for? I don't know how to tweet. I'm sorry. Well, since they're not ready, I'll keep them on. Even though I don't tweet, that does not take away from any of my support or the values that I have placed in our president.
Well, I've been warned about going off script, so I I've been warned about going off script, so I'll just repeat what Dennis says. He will work for leadership when they are being conservative. He will work with leadership to get conservative values passed in the legislature. He will not work for it.
I support Donald Trump on what we know. So far, I call bullets and strikes. I like simplified regulations. I like simplified tax code. I like low taxes. I like the wall. I like being tough on an international front. I think there's peace through strength. I like seeing that. But I don't like tweeting at 2:30 in the morning much either. Thank you.
I support President Trump's agenda that he campaigned on. I absolutely support it. Let's build the wall, secure our borders. He cut taxes. Let's make those tax cuts permanent. Getting rid of rules and regulations that are so stifling to business, our farmers and ranchers, waters of the U.S. I mean, that was excellent. They are repealing so much of that stuff. I absolutely support it. For those of you that don't know, Brad Parscale was born and raised in Topeka, Kansas. President Trump's now campaign manager. He did tweet out. He tweeted out that I'm a great senator and I would make a great congresswoman. So yes, I will work with our president. But my obligation is to my constituents in Kansas. And that's how I operate in the Kansas Senate, and that's how I will operate in the U.S. Congress. My commitment is to you. You can take my comm cards and you can see how I'm going to vote on legislation. And that's how you should be able to do with any legislator. I had some of my colleagues, that's not what they do. I look forward to visiting with you guys afterwards, and I hope you ask about our endorsements in a race like this. It's critical.
Have we used the poll for the time yet? Okay. I've got a question directed to Mr. Pyle, who isn't here, but his spokesperson is. So. It's kind of a two-part question. It's a two-part question. What do you mean by not rewarding those who have entered America without proper credentials? And do you actually realize the cost of deportation and incarceration?
So unfortunately, on more complicated issues of policy like that, I can't speak for Dennis. Like it says in our poll charts, and like I said earlier, Dennis wholeheartedly supports Trump's policy of building the wall and securing the southern border. In terms of the more complicated questions in this question, I can't speak for Dennis on that. Anyone who has questions for Dennis can certainly email us at info@dennispyle.com or look at our website, dennispyle.com. For more information, you can also look us up on Facebook. But unfortunately, in that regard, I can't speak for Dennis.
That will end this group's time up here. So if you give them a hand.